Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Random, the third. How you doing, Marilyn? It is a honor and privilege to bring this gentleman on. Before I do that, I just want to thank you guys for the continued support of watching Random and everything. I know yesterday was pretty hectic and crazy. It was supposed to be an interview conducted on Instagram, but I had some technical issues with Instagram and everything. Still trying to work that out. It has more to do with the app and everything. But man, it is what it is. That's what happens when you have a show called Random. So I'm actually going to bring this gentleman on. I'm actually going to add him. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, this is going to be pretty cool. All right. All right, so Mr. Ken, I'm going to add you. Yeah, it's going to be fun. This is a good night. Mr. Ken Davis, what's up, brother?
What's going on, man? How are you
Nothing
doing this
much,
evening?
man. Compared to,
Zach
yesterday and
Miller?
everything. Oh man, you had to bring that one up, man.
I thought you was
Oh
going
my
Zach
God.
Miller. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No,
Hey,
I had issues. I had issues with my Instagram Live.
really, what happened?
It was actually putting whenever I try to add someone to a live broadcast, the app freezes and it closes
Mm-hmm.
out. So I don't know. I don't know, man. It's crazy. So for those of you who are watching, this gentleman here, he is co-host of the D&DavisShow, which airs every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. It is the best sports show as far as recap and preview on the weekend, top notch and everything. Ken, again, thank you for being on here, man.
Definitely appreciate everything that you've done in bringing me on, and soon make sure you all stay tuned to all the people. But more importantly, he's going to bring in my man, Demaz, who was on the
Yes,
Cliff Kelly show today talking
nice.
about what took place with Bob McNair. So, look, we definitely appreciate, as you said, we have a sports show. We also have a podcast where we kind of get away from sports. I think we encapsulate sports well, but I also feel like our kind of perspectives are what we're kind of offering you on anything, our differing and
Okay.
similar perspectives. So it's like, yeah, we do sports. So we give you like just talking about the actual plays and stuff like that. But we also kind of tell you outside of that, and then we go into anything and everything. And we try at most times to do it in an intelligent manner and not be super blue about it most of the times.
Okay. How
Check
long you
out the
guys been?
podcast though.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
go
yes.
ahead, go ahead. So we
What?
go ahead. I'm sorry.
What?
Please
It's on.
continue.
I
Don't
know
let
it's
me.
on SoundCloud.
Don't,
It's on
yeah.
iTunes. It's
Start,
on
start
Stitcher.
off with the iTunes. Start off with the
Okay.
iTunes.
Yes, the
On iTunes,
iTunes. Yes, the iTunes.
SoundCloud, Stitcher, as D would tell you, any place where there is podcasts, you can find us. So on the
Yes.
moon, in the gutters, if there are podcasts there, we're we're somewhere with that podcast. So look, getting back to your question, I believe I can't remember how the Illinois Center for Broadcasting now, the Illinois Media School goes as far as the year. I think D is better at this, and we've talked about it. So, Dedrian, you went there. Is it the name of your class? Is that for the graduation date, or is that for, because this was when it was a year? So I
Okay.
always kind of forget, like, since we were class of 2012, was that we graduated in 2012? Because if we graduated in 2012, we've had this show since 2012, pretty
I
much.
figured it was around 2012 because I met you guys in 2013 when I was a student.
Yeah.
Because I was
So it was
February 9th.
2012. Yeah, 2012. Night classes for the real grinders. It was
Oh
2012. Me
yes,
and D,
yes.
it's hard. Me and D,
Yes.
go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead. We worked
Yeah.
together. D was in a program that had failed at another school that was doing something similar and decided to go
Okay.
there. I was talking to a couple of people. I was thinking about it, but him going there was even more emphasis for me to be like, you know what, let me do it. It probably was even better, even though initially when we got there, we didn't really hang too tight. I mean, we were guys and we would drive
Okay.
home, but it wasn't like when we got to class, we had to sit next to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like D was like in the front of the class. I was like in the middle. And then slowly when things start getting where it's like, let's get to the work. was more of when we would kind of align and be like, all right, let's start doing the show. So the show, in a way, started from us being in class. Shout out to Stone Pony, Jill Urchek. They were our initial teachers. Us being in class and wanting to really get some work in and hitting record and just going. So we started then in 2012 in like August when we got the actual show on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. And then, it started building slowly. We were rough around the edges. You know, it takes a long time to really get good at what you're at. I mean, there's still gaps on where we can improve on what we're doing. I still think we're better than a lot of people that do what we do. Or a lot of people just talk in general. I mean, because I don't like to pigeonhole us into just talking about sports. Again, our podcast, D and Davis The Flip, we do pop culture and politics and anything that's kind of going on. You were on The Flip last week.
Yes.
And we interview people. Yeah, we interview people in both formats, sports and also outside of sports, you know, where we kind of take a odd way. Like we had a young lady from this podcast called Potterotica, which is about like erotic Harry Potter. You know what I'm saying? And she was part of a podcast festival in Chicago.
Okay.
And some other guys we were cool with, Alternative Fact Chicago. So just, you know, networking and trying to grow. So we did that. And then, like, for instance, the guys that you know, like Sydney and Kyle, they came on probably about a year and a half to closer to 2 years. So then they took it to another level. Then we had young Jason Kestner, and Jason brought us Tony.
Shout out to Jason. He's cool. Cool cat, man.
Yeah, Jason. So Jason came, and Jason was a down partner, and he brought us Tony. And Tony has been such a significant part of what we've been doing going forward. So, I mean, when you added pretty much Tony, then, I mean, even you got like young Ryan. And you have these guys, they do so much to help us get to where you may see us on television. Or like I said, D was on Cliff Kelly's show. On Cliff Kelly's show today, where, you know, through word of mouth, through connections and stuff like that, that it just helps to grow the crew. I mean, yeah, our names are on it, but it's really all the work that the crew has been putting in that's helping us reach young heights and stuff like that. And even shout out to young Washington football fans, Charles Ritchie. He's even a guy that's been around. But it's really the guys, me and D started it, but it's what those last three guys, as far as Tony, Kyle, and Sydney, have really brought to it, that's propelled it to where we're getting close to where it seems like we're about to spring on to something else.
Okay, now I got to ask you this, man. How do you maintain the continuity and teamwork? Because we know in this industry, there's a lot of egos, man. There's a lot of egos. But I commend you guys as far as the continuity, the teamwork, the consistency. Because, I mean, you've been doing it for 5 years, man. And to do a show that's for 5 years, that's, you know, somewhat of a 3-hour format, man, that's some good stuff, man. But how do you keep the continuity and teamwork going?
We can curse on here? I'm just asking. I don't need to. We're talking trash. I think with us, if there's any type of divaness, and I think anybody can fall into having an ego. Let me lead off with that. And even at your worst moment, you may think you're right about something and you're actually wrong about something. But we all have biases, and sometimes it's hard to sit there and notice that, oh, you know what, I have a bias. I'm kind of wrong in this situation. I should take a step back. We probably, just even as far as just like D and I, and then I'll spread out to the rest of the team. Me and D maybe had like 3 really good arguments, maybe. You know, I mean, I think in general we had a pretty decent relationship to start off. Being real down guys. I mean, you know, I'll put it like this: I'm lucky, or we're lucky, because even if we don't get along with something, we all know the end goal. So even if someone doesn't get necessarily their way, their first reaction is, forget this, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Because when you're a team, it's a democracy. So look, I may not win, and the guys may put it to a vote, and it may go against what I say, and that just means I lose. You know, like that's how it is if we're really going to be this crew, and if people are going to make these sacrifices that they're making. So how we really get around it, we talk about it, but I think even like the last couple years, we've been really in a groove to where it's just, I don't know, like BS and hate to a certain degree, it'll kill you. As you said, like it will fracture everything. So if you don't come into this situation, look, I'll put it like this. Some people, and that's not to say any of our crew can't, some people can definitely do anything solo. I mean, look at the things that you're doing right now. So by all means, go out and get yours and do what you need to do. But if you can grow with people too, that can only benefit you. I was looking at a former guest of ours, and that's another thing. I'll get to our producers in a minute. But a former guest of ours that Cal got us, Boy Illinois, he's been on the show twice in studio. Yeah. And I was watching him at some event talking, and he was talking about initially how all his guys want to be rappers, right? But how now some of them are graphic designers. His hype man isn't with him all the time now. He's only there when they need to do this. You know, the guy, all the guys in his team now have specific jobs that came out of hip hop, but they learned what they were good at because everybody wants to be the star just off jump. Look, case in point. Now, for the last time I was on Cliff Kelly, D turned it down and got me Cliff Kelly. In a way, they have more of an affinity for bringing him on. That doesn't make me upset. I mean, if he wins, first of all, if he wins, I win. But if he wins, and let's even just say D and Davis never existed anymore, I win because that's my man's. We grown something. I'm not going to hate. I think it's a lot of hate, and it's easy to hate the person next to you. And I'm not saying you should hate anybody, but it's always easier to hate the person next to you than to hate the person across the street that you're admiring. I think that's and sometimes you just have to program yourself not to be like that. I mean, that's really the thing. There are definitely times where I've had to check myself, you know, and be like, dude, you bugging, you know, like that's, you know, and it's hard sometimes to tell yourself, but sometimes you're bugging. But getting back to the guys real quick, I just want to really talk about them. I mean, look, some of the guests these dudes have been able to get us. People ask me all the time, how do you get these guests? Like my producers, you know, like they're putting in the work to get the guests. They're doing the sound that Tony's doing to make it sound like a professional. You turn into that show, listen to the beginning, it's gonna sound like a professional show when that show starts. You know, he's putting in that time. And I mean, right now, when we're still trying to get to the bag, it's just a crew. And I mean, I think it's good, especially when there's always a negative connotation with brothers in general, that when you have brothers that, you know, we strive and we go through the hard times. We've been grinding and doing this for a long time, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
I commend you guys. And for those of you who just tuned in, this is Ken Davis, co-host of the D&Davis Show, which you can listen to every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Chicagoland Sports Radio. Also, for those of you who are watching, you can comment questions below, and we'll answer them and everything. So, Ken, I got to ask you, man, take us through a normal Saturday, a 3-hour show. the process, I know what it is because I did a 3-hour show. I did a few. And, you know, a lot of people that aren't in our industry and everything, they're like, it's easy. You just go on the microphone, press a few buttons, you know, talk. They think it's easy, but this ain't some cookie cutter thing, man. Take us through a normal Saturday afternoon on the D&Davis Show.
So, yeah, you get the end result of the show, not the podcast. The show's on Saturday, the podcast on Tuesday, and then we post the podcast when the show is live. That show starts Monday or Tuesday. Well, actually, it starts somewhere between the weeks before, depending on who our producers are talking about booking. Like, hey, I think, you know, so-and-so, we're going to get this. So it can start weeks ahead, but usually during that week, we're starting to lock down what's hot. For the most part, Kyle's doing the lead as far as who we're booking. We're trying to figure out if this person is good. You know, if we feel that they're relevant. Sometimes you just let your producers do what they're going to do because they come up with some great ideas that you wouldn't have thought of, which is a great point and a great thing to have, or a total different angle, which some people that have other shows that have more coverage don't even do something like that. But it starts during the week. We start getting all the info of the guests, maybe if they're pushing something, what they're pushing, what storyline is imperative to what's going on today. I think like last week we had I forget his first name, which is terrible, but his last name is Bell, and he works for USA Today, a good brother. He joined us to talk about the Bob McNair situation. And, you know, so it'll turn on the head like that as far as wanting to give you what's going on. For anybody who doesn't know, Bob McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans, at the NFL meetings with the players, came out and basically said, some people said he didn't imply to the players. He was talking about the front office as far as Roger Goodell and his crew, but another people said he was talking about them and the players. But he said, we're not going to let the inmates run the prison. So that was a big to-do. Texans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins left the facility that day, and a lot of players thought about boycotting at that time. And I think this may have been one of the first weeks where their players took a knee, because Bob McNair, just like Jerry Jones, both of these guys, owners in Texas, basically told their players, your ass better not take a knee. So we did that. And like, for instance, the weeks prior to this week, we had definitely the lovely Lauren Cox. She joined us. We're going to do something where we do rotations with people that kind of fit with us. I apologize. Kind of fit with us to kind of guest host with us or whatever. We had her, but the weeks before that, we've had 3 comedians in a row for the last hour. And most of them have some type of sports knowledge. So to give you that, but also to give you some levity, like that's one of the main things we're trying to do. I mean, I said, and I know I've said it before. I'm sorry. I have to drink a little bit of water. My throat is.
Hey, this is water, folks. This ain't lemonade. This ain't some adult beverage or anything.
It's all right.
We got a drink. Yeah, I think Julio, what's up, man? Former member of the Loud House. Let's see. He's asking, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because your show is great, and I've listened to it a few times. And, I guess he said, D, good work, brother. You're making it happen, Loud House Random. Thank you, Julio. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? He took my question.
I definitely see my team in somewhere where our words and whatever we have to say is being disseminated on a large scale. So either that's through us finding a larger platform for us to be able to sit there and monetize what we're doing, or that's some type of radio station, podcasting, or some, finding value in us, or us showing them value to them coming to us. I think the thing is, the show being our heart and soul and what we brought us all together, but we kind of look at the podcast as being what we could use to make some money off of, because of how everyone is doing such a job podcasting right now. And of course, again, we're selling ourselves. That's what we're bringing. So I definitely see, hopefully not even in 5 years, let's just say in 2 years, I definitely see us on a larger platform and making trailblazing careers as far as doing the things that we're doing. I'm sure at some point, not to say like the show as far as me and D, but you got to think, Kyle's a writer, Tony does production, CNN only has his own show right now, but I see us all growing and becoming greater in whatever path that we're choosing, kind of like the example I was talking about earlier with the boy Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now, sticking on the subject of 5 years and everything, going back 5 years, we've seen a lot of things happen as far as progression with social media and everything. And especially in our industry, we've seen how social media has really changed the game as far as broadcasting. You go back to 2012, Instagram, you didn't have Instagram Live, you didn't have Facebook Live, you didn't have Periscope. I think on Instagram you can only have like a 30-second video or something like that. You didn't have stories, you didn't have Snapchat or anything. What's your take on how social media is really, it's like a double-edged sword. It's giving us more opportunities, but then it's just like, man, where do we start? Like, it's just so many places to, keep your pulse on, the advancements and everything.
It's only going to grow. This funny thing is that you mentioned that it's positive and negative. I mean, I think about going back a few years, and look, if I get it wrong, because it's one of the jokes that D and I always had, because I would always butcher this, but you think about, seriously, but you think about what took place like in Egypt years back when it was like Muslim Spring, and how social media spread. And even though they tried to lock down how people communicated through social media, they could communicate with one another and know where to gather and meet. That's a pro. And then you got people sitting there doing, coming together to go and snatch something out of a store. That's a con. With us, I look at it as being a positive, because right now, without any help from anybody else, you could talk to people that want to listen to what we have to say right now, and they can interact and ask us questions. And this is just the beginning of it. So, the funny thing about it, and for anybody that's watching this, and I'm sure, the people that follow Dedrian, he's been doing some work with us with social media, and this right here, he's the person that brought our attention to this. And D and I did our first D and Davis Bears post and pregame this week, trying to steal some of that money that the rest of these TV stations are doing. Yep. when you look at this, and I was thinking about this interview today, right? And I don't know if this is a pro or a con. So you tell me, right?
Okay.
It's cool that me and you can do this like this. But for instance, like I'm a fan of Drink Champs, right? Okay. And part of the fun of the show, and outside of them drinking, which sometimes I don't necessarily need, because I don't need to hear people being really inebriated when they're trying to come up with something that's witty or something like that sometimes. But I love the show. I've always been a Nori guy. But the reason I bring it up is part of the reason that makes that show so good is the fact they're in the room together. It's kind of even, for instance, if you're a music fan, back when two artists had to be in the same place to come up with whatever they were doing compared to now, just send them this and we'll get the stuff back. Think about it, in the 90s, if you were smart, you knew that Jay-Z and Nas really didn't like each other, right? Because Jay-Z's first hit song had Foxy Brown on it. Foxy Brown was in Nas's crew, The Firm. It made no sense why they hadn't really worked with each other. Jay-Z sampled Nas in his first album. Why hadn't these guys done a track? Common sense. They don't really vibe like that. And today,
gospel truth.
Yeah, but the funny thing about today is because these artists don't have to be around each other. And look, that goes back even further. Those guys were closer than that. That's just, I'm just telling you that fact. Mm-hmm. Before they blew, they kind of toured the circuit together. But get into this. Like today, you have artists that really don't click with each other, but because they don't have to be in the same room and they can send them a track to be on the track, here, go ahead. I don't really vibe with him, but he'll bring eyes to me, put him on the track. So that's one of the negatives that I kind of feel, but I think it's great. I mean, it's great with us just doing this right now because it allows you to be in control. You don't have to go and ask, hey, can I use this? We all know how much it costs to use facilities. I don't even think, I was talking to a guy, he makes music, and he was saying how much it costs for him to pay for the producers. And I was like, well, how many songs are you trying to get into that session? He's like, I'm trying to get 7 songs in that session. And then look, you hear old artists talk all the time about when you had to punch something up and they had to do the track straight through. They couldn't just sit here and edit it with Pro Tools and stuff like that. But I'll say the flip side, the bad side about that too. I think in some ways it can enhance the quality, but in some ways it can take away from the quality because what you have, I'm sorry, you got work email stuff. But what you have is this, what you end up having though, if you look at it as a pro, is that if you mess up, you can go back and really change it. You can alter it, and there's nothing to really worry about. And the amount of freedom you have is as far as the time, you're not rushing. Think about it. Yeah. We got this song. I got this much time to be in here. We're gonna lay these tracks. Forget if they kind of good or not. We land these tracks and putting these vocals down. So that's one of the kind of like how I feel a little bit as far as the pros and the cons about having the power in your hand. Like for instance, this right here with me and you, we can take as much time as we want. We don't. I'm like, no one's coming in here and snatching these earbuds out my ear and telling me your time is up. Somebody else is in the basement, right? It's like oh, I can do it. You right here, you can do it. As long as our phone batteries last long enough.
It's a lot convenient. It's convenient. And that's one of the reasons why I actually wanted to start doing this show. Because one of the issues that I had when I had this show as a radio show was, it's a set day, set time. Oh, I can't make it because I have this. I can't make it. Well, this is actually accommodating to whoever I want to interview and stuff like that. And that's the pro. The con is, of course, like you said, you want to be in the same room and, talk and just, there's a different vibe you have, especially in the radio. When someone's there, you can just vibe off that creativity and, you start telling those stories and the audience is engaged and you're like, okay, I can take this here. He's taking it there. Okay, we're going to take it. All right, we can take it there. But, I mean, what you said, Ken, it's a pro and a con.
But it's good.
It's good.
It's good to have the option. See, the thing is, compared to, we got to get in the studio and do it, you have the option to do this. So it's a pro and it's a con, but it's much more of a pro than it is a con, at least to say the least. It's much more, look, if we were kids today, just think about this. This would be crazy to be 14 years old and able to sit here and us both be on here that all our classmates can come. Think about the beefs that people would have in a good way, not something terrible. Yeah. But the beefs, the contests, the dozens that will be playing on something. Hey, so and so tonight, y'all gonna play the dozens, and people are gonna rate how well you. think about like, dude, this would have been terrific. I mean, look,
in the 90s.
In the 90s,
it would have been. Woo,
yeah, and only kind though still is how people interact. But you're right, it would have been crazy. I mean, if I came up now, the action would be fierce as far as all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 90s. It would have been. I mean, the numbers would have been off the charts and everything because a lot of kids. I mean, you figure an 18-year-old now, or actually, let's say somebody that's like 25, 10 years ago, they were using, MySpace. So they've been raised in this. Like for us, I mean, our social media was like pen pals and stuff like that.
I love my pen pals.
Yeah.
I met some people in some other states, and we used to actually write on paper.
Yes.
And I used to mail it to somebody.
Yes.
All right. And I waited forever for it.
Now, what's cool is that like our social media besides pen pals was the local mall, whether it was the Brickyard Mall, the Fort City Mall,
the Plaza, River Oaks.
Lincolnwood Mall.
For my area, it was the Plaza, River Oaks, Fort City. That's where the action took place. That was the social media. That was where you were to be seen. You go to seen and be seen, to say the least. Yeah, plenty of great stories about that.
You're taking it back, man.
I'm sorry. I don't want to date us. I'm not trying to date us.
We're like vampires. We're kind of like immortal. We're timeless.
Yeah.
We fit in. It's like, how old are you? Don't worry about it. I'm young enough.
Run with that.
Yeah. All right, Ken. I gotta ask you, man. How do you guys? You got a show. You got your regular job. You guys got family life and everything. How do you guys balance that? Because a lot of people within, whether in our industry or in other industries, they're passionate about their goals and dreams, but they're, they really don't know how do I keep a balance and, maintain that responsibility across the board?
Well, you don't actually keep a balance, one.
Okay.
You don't keep a balance. I mean, especially if this is, depends on this. Are we doing this for a hobby or are we doing this as a business model to profit off of? For us, the way that we're allowed to keep a quasi balance is the ladies in our life. Afton allows me to do whatever when it comes to the show. His wife Chanel does what she allows him to do as far as raising their daughter.
Salute to your wives, man.
So that's the major thing, is that people behind it. I mean, look, okay, I gave all the props to the guys. The props to the ladies. I mean, because without that, I mean, dude, I got 2 kids and I'm not a part-time daddy. You know what I'm saying? So these are like with me all the time or whatever. I mean, do you know how hard it would be? And I don't have a lot of people that I can just leave my kids with. Not saying I would if I could, because I'm not like that with my kids. But having people have to soak up the weight of us not being there for us to pursue this is really what allows us to do it. But as far as the balance, I mean, like there are times where we're always doing something for the show. I mean, maybe I tell you, we do the show 2 times a week, but sometimes we may have to do something else. Matter of fact, we're going to be with Weekend Gabe. He's going to interview us this Thursday. All right. Nice. We're here now with Dedrian. So you stay here with D. This D, not my D, this D.
Yeah.
But Thursday,
Dedrian.
check it out. Yeah, Dedrian, check out. We're going to do something. We had Weekend Gabe on with us to do the flip, and we're gonna be with him on Thursday. So that's another night out of the week that, I mean, after working, that we have to do this, which is a good thing. It's good that people want you around. Look, I appreciate you saying, Ken, hey, come do this. It's better than someone being like, hey, your ass doesn't need to come here. But you're going to have to sacrifice. I mean, that's the real thing. How far are you willing to sacrifice? Like, usually, I'm for the most part, and it's not right all the time. I'm usually like, let's go. But the problem with let's go is you also need a plan. You know, so always go isn't a positive thing either. But usually, even if I don't feel like it, if this is what the plan takes, I'm going to put my time into it, because that's what I have. One thing that I can give is my time and my effort. Like, regardless if you don't have any money to invest in something, regardless if you don't have some type of skill, which someone, did they just say that Jimmy Garoppolo got traded?
Oh, cool. We get late breaking news.
Did Jimmy Garoppolo just get traded to the 49? Look, I'm sorry. I got to.
Are you serious?
Just give me a second to see what ESPN just
No, go ahead. Yo, this is like late break. See, this is random. This is the epitome of random.
I don't know what just came across, and since my phone is at a vertical, it is not responding. Give me 1 second. But keep on going. You can ask me questions.
You might be able to find it on Twitter. So yeah, for those of you who are tuned in, Ken Davis just got a notification that possibly I forgot his name, the quarterback for
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo probably got traded.
Listen, this is from CBS. Patriots reportedly trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the 49ers for a second-round pick. It was just a second-round pick.
Oh!
Look, but you know what this means?
What?
Though? This means that the big thing about this, which I have to give Kyle Shanahan props. Look, I haven't been a Kirk Cousins guy, but Kirk Cousins over the last 2 years has proved that he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
But bringing in Kirk Cousins, and you look at they have John Lynch now, and they have Kyle Shanahan, son of Mike Shanahan.
Yeah.
And the connection between him and Kirk Cousins being his former offensive coordinator was that he was going to come there. Kirk Cousins, it's going to be fun to see what Kirk Cousins does now because that was his leverage. So Kirk Cousins now, that leverage is gone, and what they get in the 49ers is a younger quarterback on a lesser contract because Kirk Cousins is on 2 franchise tags right now. Yeah. So why? And this also says that they expect Brady to play 3 to 4 more years easy with a deal like this.
See, dude. That's the epitome of structure, organization, and having a good foundation and everything. They could just plug people in like nothing. See, that's how you develop a system and everything. That's crazy. So yeah, for those of you who just tuned in, Ken just got late breaking news from the NFL that I can't even pronounce his freaking name.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo got traded to the 49ers for a second-round pick. That is the backup quarterback to Brady. That's crazy.
He was one of the most wanted backups in like the last 10 years easy. So he's gone. He
reminded me of damn, that's crazy. So that's breaking news.
Yeah.
Man, see that? Now you experience random. That wasn't even planned or part of the anything. That's crazy, man. I got a few questions before we wrap this up. Man, this has been a really good conversation and everything.
I enjoyed it also.
Man, this has been really good. What value do you, in particular, want to have in this industry?
I want to be a focused, strong, for the most part, well-informed person of color, a black man. But I'll say this too. For the most part, I always try to look at things from all perspectives. I really try to do that. And I want to sit there and give you a structured thought, but I also want to give you a break from whatever's going on in your life. Like I want you to know that this dude is really thinking about, for the most part, hopefully people get when I'm joking. I won't say it's an act, but you should kind of get the rhythm that you get from me. But I want you to know that it's well thought out. For the most part, I do try to research a lot of the things that I talk about. Not to say that something could break, and we may have to just start talking about it. But I do try to find out a little bit more behind it than just hearing about it word of mouth. So I'm researching the things, but also I want you to just relax. Like I want you to feel like we're hanging out. You enjoy hanging with my team, but you're talking about me. You enjoy hanging with me. You're having a good time, and that you feel like that's time well invested every time you do it, because sometimes we focus on what's going on in the day, and hopefully I give you a different perspective, or we just enjoy each other's company. Like that's really what I want you to enjoy this and feel like, things may not be going well, but when I click into D&Davis, man, dude, look, even if it's a hot topic, it's been so many things that have been, race has really been used the last 9 years, you know what I'm saying? As far as, I hate to get political with this or partisan, but you look at what the Tea Party did, and look, it galvanized them and helped them get more voters in because you had somebody to say, hey, look at that. You see that guy? We're against that guy. And it allowed a party where people were like, well, what are they going to do next? To galvanize. It allowed them to get grassroots and to get people out and voting in booths. So you can see there, and then you see it going now to Trump talking about kneeling and how those guys are sons of bitches, and just how race is being used. It's not really being used out of specifically hate. Not to say the hate isn't behind it, but it's being used to take your attention away from what's really going on, because it's such a baseline reaction, you know. So it's right there for you to trigger it. And when I trigger it, you stop focusing on what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? So that is kind of, you know, something that when we talk about it, I don't want you to think that I'm always coming at it like, well, this is how we go. No. I'm going to say it. And look, I hate to say this, and I say it as a joke, but as a joke, one of the things around election time that I remember I kept saying is like, well, you guys keep telling these people that in 2030 they're going to be a minority. You probably shouldn't have gave them a heads up, you know. And I'm just, it's a joke. But in all fairness, if you really think, if Dedrian, if you're the majority and people keep telling you, we coming for you, you're going to start being like, hey, I don't like that. You know, like it's a natural reaction to hold on to power. You know, like if I gave you, if I made you in charge of whatever company, and let's just say you held it down for 2 years, and then you start to feel the sand shift below your feet, you're going to do whatever you need to hold on to that power. You know, so just even looking at how race galvanized a group to get together, and who, Lord knows what took place. We never saw it happen. We ever have an election night discussion, and again, I didn't want to get political with this, but what we thought going into that day, like, something, to what took place, because people aren't paying attention to what people are really saying. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's a crazy thing. So getting back to what I want to give you, I want to talk about that. I want to do it in a way that's forthcoming, that's open and honest, that isn't all games, but then, like, again, because life is so real. Like, that's the thing. Life is so real. People don't really want to hear you complaining majority of the time. And I'm not still saying that you shouldn't complain. Look, on social media for the most part, and I really haven't been rocking with social media for more than 2 years. Like, we're on Facebook. I initially created my Facebook account because our company was joining a Kickstarter, right? Okay. And I needed a Facebook to use it. So I didn't use my Facebook account for like 4 years. But where I worked, my account will open up when I will open different things. So people started finding it, right? So then after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to hide it, because in our business, and the guys used to tell me, used to always be like, hey, you need to get on Twitter. They got me on Twitter first. Like, you need to get on Twitter. And then I came over to Facebook and Instagram, you know, after doing that. But this isn't my thing. And I usually don't. If you check my timeline, I don't really complain on it too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, not really, because nobody really wants to hear me complaining. You have stuff going on in your life. I'm not saying that that's bad, because when you look at the Me Too situation with the Harvey Weinstein stuff that took place, and you just hear like Kevin Spacey, they just closed down House of Cards. Like, forget it, cut it, finito. And
last season.
And I want to say this too. That's a good thing about social media. Social media builds a platform to where not just women, and women go first, not just women, but even men feel comfortable, because they can look and see all these people talking about being assaulted. So I feel like, all right, I'm not going to be a weirdo. And I'm not saying that, I'm just saying how people may feel by coming out and saying, like, this happened to me. I was young, or I was in a position of where I didn't have the power and someone took advantage of me. So that's one of the pluses of social media that we really need to talk about. But getting to the Me Too thing, it's just a wonderful thing when you can see so many people galvanized about something that I think we all kind of know still goes on in all of our communities, and we don't really put it at the forefront for the most part. Okay.
My next question, what influence do you want to have in the industry?
You know what? I would want young men and women, first off, who look like me in all shades, to be at the table. Like I do sports. That's the first thing I do. And a lot of times you don't see the people that are on the field being the people talking about it. And I'm not saying that on the flip side to say, you know, there's tons of people, even though there are a good amount of people that can do it. But I would want it be commonplace to see a person of color on a dais when you have 5 people up there and they're of another color, but they're talking about these black players doing something. So that means I would want. I mean, and I'm standing on the shoulder who opened that door, but where people are getting for doing it and being like, like for instance, you think about the Derrick Rose rule, and look, that's cool. Pay more because this guy did that. A Kenneth Davis.
Sorry about that, guys. See, that's what happens with random and everything. Let me bring this gentleman back on. Let's see. All right. I'll see if he comes back on and everything. But that was Ken Davis of the D and Davis Show. It airs every Saturday from. There we go. It airs every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time every Saturday. I'm going to give him a few seconds to jump back on. All right, cool. Yeah, just jump back on, Ken. I think it was something with the Wi-Fi or a wind or something. So let me bring him on. All right, man. For some reason, I can't bring him on. All right. So, yeah, that's what happens with random. I know with the wind and everything, it's pretty. Again, this is based in Chicago. I am in Chicago right now, so it's pretty windy and everything. Ken, if you can get back on, great. So yeah, that's what happens with random and everything. Let me see if I can bring it back on. All right, hold on. Davis. Okay. All right, let's see if. All right. Damn. All right. So that is it. I'm gonna close it and everything. Um, I don't know if he can come back on or what have you, but that was Ken Davis of the D and Davis Show. Again, it airs every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Chicagoland Sports Radio. You can follow them on their Facebook page, the D and Davis Show. You can follow them on Instagram, the D and Davis Show. You can follow them on Twitter at D and Davis Show. You can tune into the Flip on their SoundCloud. It is the D and Davis Show, colon, the Flip and everything. They have great content and everything else on there and everything. It's unfortunate, but hey, this is what happens with technology and everything. But thank you guys for tuning in. It's been great. It's been a pleasure. Let me see if I can bring him back on because there's one more question I want to ask him. Let me see if I can do this. All right. Let me see if I can bring this back on. All right. Damn. Can't bring him on. All right, folks. That is it. I am going to wrap this up. If you tuned in towards the end and missed it, this will be on YouTube and everything. So, again, thank you guys so much. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, DEDRIANCOLON. Sign in. I've got the interview with Josh Lopez yesterday. I have the interview with John Brunson. There's more content and everything coming up. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful day, and this is Random.